friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to be continuing to work on my October daily 2020 foundation pages. So before starting my foundation pages, or before putting together my schedule of events here for this particular project, I polled the community to find out what you guys would want to see me work with in my album this year. And pretty much hands down, the answer was interactivity. So last Thursday, I did a live video, which I will link at the eye for you guys in case you didn't catch it. And I worked on the first category of interactivity, which were tags. So I put together a bunch of different page ideas and just the basis for what will eventually hold my stories for October, but using primarily tags. Today, I am continuing this series, but we are going to be working with flip elements. So things that flip out or flip up or all different kinds of things. So I've got in front of me a bunch of different pages that I have predetermined that I want to have some sort of flip element on the page. So I am going to put you guys on fast forward, and while you are sped up, I'm going to put these different projects together. I will talk you through the concept that I have and the process of putting the foundation or the bones together for that particular page. And then once I get all of these done and ready to go, we will slow back down and close you guys out for the day. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so jumping right into this first little project here, what I want to do is use these two tags, the haunted house tags, to create a book that is going to hold a bunch of photos of our house when it's decorated for Halloween. And this little booklet is going to slip inside of a pocket in my album, which I'm actually going to be making later on in the month. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a piece of regular copy paper to 3 inches by 3 inches. And then I also cut another piece at 1 inch by 3 inches. So the one that's 3 by 3, I scored every half of an inch. And the one that is the 1 inch long, I scored at half. So what I'm going to do is accordion fold that little inside piece, or this piece that I'm working on right here, in order to create the spot where I'm going to adhere my photos to eventually. And then the other one, the 1 inch piece, is going to become a spine so that the book doesn't flop open. I don't want it to accordion fold out. I just want it to flip open just like a book would. So for this one, the reason I have 2 of those haunted house tags is because I accidentally purchased one of the tag ephemera packs twice. I didn't mean to, but it honestly worked out in my benefit. Because now I can make things like this. So I'm going to take the tags and adhere them onto that 1 inch piece. I decided to go back into my stash and cut that 1 inch piece out of one of the pattern papers instead, and one specifically that had a lot of black on it, because I found that when it folded, I could see the white poking out the side. And so by making it black instead, then I won't see it when the book is closed. And I like that a lot better. In order to create this little piece where the photos will adhere down, I am going to add some adhesive in there in order to stick the folds together. And then I'm just going to put it onto the inside of the tag, adhere it onto both sides. And then you can see that there are these little tabs for me to adhere my photos to back in order to make this into a book. I am going to add a little bit of my black and orange twine here and then trim it off, and that is pretty much going to do it for this first one. So, like I said, this one's going to hold pictures of our decorated house, and it's going to go into a pocket that I will create using a cut file. So you're going to see the pocket next week during the recorded prep video that I will make there. So we're going to stick all of this back in the little booklet here, or the little, the little glassine bag where all the contents are held, and set that one to the side until we're ready to actually put the thing together later on. So next, let's move on to this second spread. So for this one, this is going to be a spread all about going to the pumpkin patch. So my plan for this year is to go to the pumpkin patch on, I'm I would like to try to go on a Friday, but in the morning, like at 10 o'clock in the morning when most people are in school or doing school or at work, so that we can avoid crowds if possible. And so that is what this page is going to be all about, is the pumpkin patch and the corn maze and all that kind of stuff. So I have these 2 TN papers from, they're from Freckled Fawn. And they're from last year's Freckled Fawn, I believe, from the October collection. So one of them has pumpkins on it, and one of them is black and white gingham. So I decided to cut the pumpkin paper into 4-inch squares, since they are a true 4x8. And then I could use the gingham part here in order to create tabs for them to open or to be held inside of my album, which you'll see how that comes together here shortly. So I cut the pieces of gingham, I want to say at about 1 inch wide, and then I will adhere those onto the, or I will adhere the pumpkin paper onto those bits and pieces, making sure to keep it all 5 inches wide, because that is how wide I can make these pages outside of the page protector. Once I have those pieces sort of put together, the next thing I did was to go and grab some of that plain copy paper to cut it at, I want to say I did like 1.5 inches just to give myself a little bit of extra room, but I'm going to adhere it to the 2 inside pieces. So this is going to flip out, and then you're going to see the whole inside there. Now, because I have 2 of those pumpkin papers, I did cut another one into the 4-inch in order to add it onto the front side as well. So when you see it closed, it'll look, like this with the pumpkins. And then when you open it, the pumpkins are on the inside too. So it just keeps everything pretty cohesive. I'm going to go ahead and add my hole punches to this. I'm using my power punch here because the holes are a little bit bigger on my power punch than on my Crop-A-Dile, and it just lets the pages move inside of the album a little bit better. Then I did hole punches on the opposite side as well, but cut out little slits in those holes, kind of like what you would see for a disc bound notebook or a happy planner. And that way I can keep it closed inside of the album, but I can also, open it up and everything will stay inside really nice. I punched out using a 2-inch punch. I think it was a 2-inch punch, a little tab there to make it easier to open and close. And then I have a few little bits and pieces that I'm going to add to the front of this just to make the front side more decorative. And then the inside is where I will put all of my photos and my journaling. So the pumpkins chipboard that you saw there was Allie Edwards. The actual pumpkin icon, which is a felt embellishment, was from the Dollar Tree last year. And then I used one of my Allie Edwards journaling cards. It said loving, and then it had story 1, story 2, story 3. And I cut out all of the story 1, story 2, story 3 to add in here. I will put little pictures above and below those areas. I'm just going to measure that out to write down the size of the photo that I can put there. And then I have one last little piece of ephemera that I will put on the inside just to fill in the extra space. So I'm not going to actually adhere down the story bits until later, just because I haven't decided if I want to type with them on my typewriter or if I want to print it off on the computer or something like that. So for now, I'm just going to leave it off and come back to it later when I'm ready to tell the stories and add in the photos. So moving on to the next spread here, this one's going to go really quick. I am cutting a piece of plain cardstock at the 5 inches by 4.25. And then I will add my hole punches to it, and that is going to be what I add my photo on top of. So I'm just going to print a full page photo when we get to this day, and I will adhere it to the cardstock piece. Then I printed this Hocus Pocus, which is Wanted, which was a free printable that I found online. I will link up the place where I found it from down below. And I printed that on vellum, or I resized it and printed it on vellum, and then used a black and white stripe washi tape in order to attach it up at the top. So this is just going to flip up in order to reveal the larger picture below. And then I did the same thing with the hole punches. So I hole punched the vellum and then cut in little slits so that when it's in the album like this, you can still flip it up and it works totally fine. So that is going to be that page. I am just writing photo there so I remember that, yep, it's a big old photo that I'm going to put there. And then I've got a few extra little bits and pieces that I plan to use in there, just seeing how that looks underneath the vellum. I think it looks totally fine. So then we can go ahead and package everything right back up and move on to the next one. So this one right here ends up being probably my favorite project of the day. I love the way that this one turned out. So I cut a piece of cardstock, of patterned cardstock from the Halloween Market collection. And it is 12 inches wide by 4 inches tall. Then I grabbed my scoreboard and I scored it every 3 inches. So then I can accordion fold it up just like I am doing here, making sure to press down those seams so it folds really nice. And it folds into this 3x4 card. I have a cut apart. So this was from one of the cut apart sheets in the collection that says, if you've got it, haunt it. And my plan is to add that on the top in order to make it kind of decorative, and then it will flip open and have some pockets on the inside. Now, I know I want to add some stitching to this just to give it a little bit of extra texture and also to give it a little bit of extra stability as well. So I took this piece before I adhered anything down, and I am going to stitch all the way around it. So you can see here's where the pockets are going to go. Oh, and then I debated on what to make my pocket out of. I had two options that I liked, and then I had Erin come over and help me pick which one to do. So those pieces there are from another of the cut apart sheets. There's one that's just border strips, and I got it thinking that it would be really awesome for building pockets kind of like this. So we decided to go with this black and white stripe with the trick or treat border strip on top of that. So that will go on top of the orange, and then I will create pockets using that. So now I'm going to pull over my sewing machine in order to get all of the stitching on here. So I first stitched all the way around the entire thing. The perimeter of all of it, and on each of those folds with black thread. Then I also pulled over the card that's going to go on the front, and I stitched around that in black as well, just to add it on that side. Then I'm going to set my sewing machine to the side for a second here, grab over the border strips that will make this into pockets, and also score that every 3 inches just to make it easier to fold and so that the cardstock itself doesn't break when I do go to fold it. So we're going to get that accordion folded, and then I'm going to add just a tiny itty bitty bit of adhesive to the different areas so that I can stick this down well enough that it holds, but I plan to just go ahead and stitch the whole thing down. So I don't really need to have adhesive going on all of it. So we're going to stick it here. Then I'm going to pull back over my sewing machine, and we're going to stitch around the sides, so the two short sides, the long side, and then I'm also going to go up and down in those on the folds. So that way it creates pockets for each individual 3x4 section. We're going to cut off all those strings, turn it over, and stick in the things there. Actually, I think I'll add the card on the top first. I can't remember what I do here. But I do go ahead and score everything again. Not score, I press down all of those seams again, because now with that added border strip, it is a little bit chunkier and it does want to pop open. I will definitely... once I get this in the album, it will definitely stay closed much better. It's just because it is freshly made that it definitely likes to open up a little bit, which is fine. Totally fine. So I have this black and white twine. I got mine from Target during the Christmas season. I hope that they bring it back because it's actually really reasonably priced. You get a ton for it, and I like the color. I like the black and white. But I did also find some recently on scrapbook.com. I think it's by Doodlebug. I will link that down below for you guys in case you're looking for some twines for this time of the year. And then I also have this little tab chipboard sticker, which is from one of my Allie Edwards kits. It says costumes on it. And so for this little piece here, my plan is to document our costumes for the year. So I am going to have each of us take a picture in our costumes. I'm going to cut it out and add it to the back side of those tags. So that little chipboard piece was the perfect addition in order to, because it says costumes. So then you can pull on the little tab, open up the whole thing, and grab out the different tags there. I grabbed them out, and I will add names to the back of them just so I can remember like who goes where on what tag. And then when I go to print out the photos for that day, I just will have to measure the tag and make sure that my photo is going to be the right size. So let's move on to the next one. So this one I had a fun idea for. I want to document all of the books that we're reading during this season. So we typically will read 1 or 2 Halloween books each week to the kids. And I usually like to read some kind of book for myself that is either like supernatural or a mystery book or a thriller book, something like that. So I want to document my books. And I thought about creating an actual book that opens up and then on the inside has pictures of the books that we read with the review that goes with them. So like, what did we think about it? How did my kids react to it? That sort of thing. So I cut a piece of paper, of pattern paper, to 3 inches by 4 inches, and then I have another piece that is cut at about 1 inch by 4 inches. So the 1 inch piece I want to look kind of like the spine of the book, and then I want the ghost portion to look like the cover with the Happy Halloween ephemera piece, and I have a little brad that I will add to this as well. Originally, I thought about using the brad to close the book, like being able to tie a string and have it attach onto that brad, but the brad is actually very narrow, or not narrow, it's very thin, so it's hard to get anything to wrap around it. So instead, I'm just going to use it as a decorative piece. Then I did go ahead and grab some twine. That is how I'm going to keep this booklet closed in the page itself. And then I'm doing the same thing that I did on that very first project. So I cut a piece of regular copy paper at 4 inches by 2 inches, and I'm adhering that one of them onto the 3x4 card, and the other one is going to adhere onto the spine piece. Because I don't have a back card to adhere it to quite yet. I'm going to fill that in as the day happens, and that way I don't have to worry about that necessarily. So I cut an additional piece here because I noticed that the piece that I had wasn't really straight, and that bothered me. So that's why you saw me just pull over some more of the cardstock and cut it. So whatever. Then on the inside of that fold that I just created, I'm going to add another one of those little groupings, I suppose, of tabs to hold pages. So I did the same thing as before, where I cut it, I believe it was 6 inches by 4 inches, and I scored it every 0.75 inches, and that was because I just had a specific number of pages that I want to add into there. I think I wanted to put 8. Like that would give me 2 books per week. And then when it flips open, I have those little sections that I can adhere our book review cards to. I actually have a digital book review card that I'm planning to use, and I will just print a tiny picture of the book and then write in our stuff for that journaling card and then add those here into the book. Then I am adding some twine on there, just trying to get it positioned where I want it to go. And once I have it in the right place, I'm going to add adhesive just to that spine piece. I don't want to stick down the cover of the book because I want that to flip up. And I will also make sure that the twine there is held in place as well. So I used a little piece of score tape in order to do that. Then I will adhere that down onto the background piece of paper, which is from the Spooky collection. I think it's called Bad Luck was the name of that one. It's just cats, like black cats. And I thought that the black looked really good in order to help the book itself, or the book embellishment flippy thing, kind of pop off of that page. So that is going to do it for this one. I'm just going to punch those holes. I almost forgot to do that. I had to go and figure out what side I wanted to punch them on. And then I will stick that back in the bag and move on to the next one. So this next one is actually going to be the last one for this video, and this is going to be for day 1 of Dia de los Muertos. So the patterns that I chose were much brighter just because that is the style of Dia de los Muertos. It's much more colorful and just really, really bright. So I have an older wood veneer piece that I got from Michael's, I want to say like 2 years ago, and it's this pink skull candy piece. And so that I'm going to place onto a piece of acetate that I purchased from American Crafts. I want to say it was a Chamel piece. They're just polka dots. It looks kind of like confetti, and it does have some silver foil sections to it as well. It's actually really pretty, and I thought that it looked really good as just an intro almost to this section of my book. So I used some of my, not my red, I want to call it score tape. It's not score tape. It is, I can't think of the name of it right now. It is the red tape, which is super, super sticky, in order to put that piece on, but I didn't want to flip it over and see all of the adhesive. So I did trace it onto a piece of patterned cardstock, and I added that to the back of the skull. That way, when you flip it over, you see the black and white, and it all looks pretty finished. So then for this next piece, I want to create a waterfall flip up. So we take a lot of pictures during this time of year. We do a lot of things on the first day of Dia de los Muertos. We usually make all of our goodies. We usually make sure our ofrenda is all set up, and we typically watch the movie Coco as well with our kids. That way it just kind of reinforces the idea of what this holiday is all about. Plus, if you haven't seen that movie, it's such a good movie. It's so good. So it gives us an excuse to watch that movie once a year as well. So I have 5 different pieces of pattern paper here. The first one I printed at, or I didn't print, I cut it at 5 inches by 4 1/4. So that is, you know what, I didn't do 5 inches. I did 4 inches by 4 1/4. Because I am going to add a piece on the spine where it will clip into the book. And the reason it couldn't be the full size is in order to flip the pages up, they can't necessarily be hole punched into the album. So I have one that is 4 inches by 4 1/4. And then the next one I want to say is 3.75 by 4. And then it's 3.25 by 4, and then 2.75 by 4. I'm pretty sure that's all my sizes. I'll double check that just in case. Actually, I think I have it written down right there. 4.5, 4.5. Anyway, they're all different size, but they're just slightly shorter than each other. That way you can see each of the descending papers as you go down. Then I took a piece of patterned paper and made that into my spine piece. So I will adhere it on there. That way we've got the holes punched. And then if you guys were watching that, I just used copy paper, cut it into the 1 inch by, I want to say it was 1 inch by about 4 inches, and use those to create the flips. And you do have to like add the flips onto one side of each paper first, and then adhere everything down onto each other in order to create the additional sections for those pages to hold on to. I have a couple of pieces here that I am just going to use to decorate the patterned paper side. So the top portion is going to be a picture, and the bottom portion is going to be my journaling. So what I did is I created journaling spots on each of these pages, and I will just handwrite in my journaling onto this particular spread. And I used some of my other bits and pieces that I have in my collection. So the Uno right there, it says "You are my number one," basically. That is from an older Kelly Perky grab bag set or swag bag set. I have the not yellow. You guys, I'm losing it. I have the orange and black butterfly there. That is from a cut apart sheet from last year, and I just fussy cut out the butterfly. And then I added one of the Tim Holtz tokens on there as well as a section to journal with. Then this one, I have this flag piece that came from the I want to say it was the Boo Crew collection from Simple Stories. And I loved that it had the two skeletons and they were kind of dressed up. It made me think of Dia de los Muertos. Plus it's got like flowers in the hair, and that's just so, that is very much the style of the holiday stuff. So I threw those on there, and I added on another one of those Tim Holtz tokens, a larger one that says something about like spirits or something like that. It just made sense for this particular holiday. I do have to move everything up a little bit because when the pages are closed, I don't want you to be able to see the ephemera. I want you to only be able to see the pattern papers. Then for this last one, I have a piece of, I have a portion, I should say, of a 3x4 card that had journaling lines on it. So I am layering that with the loving title. Now that title right there, the loving, is where that story 1, story 2, story 3 came from earlier. So I kept all of the bits and pieces from that particular journaling card, and then I used that one as the title here, as well as a little wood veneer star. Then on the top of this page, I'm adding a rest in peace chipboard phrase from Tim Holtz. It is a little bit thicker, but that's okay with me. And I loved just that it said, that it said rest in peace, because, it just made a lot of sense to me. So the last thing I'm going to do here is measure all of the top portions of those cards. That way I can make sure to print my photos at the right size when I go to do this page later. And then that is going to do it. I'm just going to package it back up, and then we will go ahead and slow back down to close you guys out. All right, friends, so that finishes up these prep pages for today. So this gives me 6 page foundations that I can work off of once October comes, and I am so pleased with how everything turned out. I am just super looking forward to October now. I hope that you guys enjoyed this process of putting together the basis for these pages. If you did enjoy this video, I would love a thumbs up down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see all of my future crafty videos. I will be back again this Thursday with another live video working with my next interactive component, which will be pockets. So make sure to come back Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so we can hang out and work on some of these projects in real time. So I am very much looking forward to that. And then I will be back again Monday, so a week from now, with the last element that I will be working with, and that is cut files. So that one will not be live. It's pre-recorded. All right, so with that, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope that you are feeling as excited for October as I am. I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye now.